Welcome to the Nuff Said Podcast, episode 37, The Return of Jack. You know what we should do here is have one of the promos from 24 where they're like, Jack's back. We should have one of those play right in here. What do you think?
Yeah, I can hear the music from 24 going right now.
Yeah, and it's licensed, so we'll be getting sued soon. All right, let's introduce ourselves. I am rambunctious Rob Southgate. With me is...
Jibed Jack Wingrosky.
Oh, and?
Juggling Jonathan.
Juggling again. Didn't you juggle before?
A while back.
I think you haven't juggled for Jack, though, right?
I love the alliteration.
Oh,
and you've been rambunctious Rob about like 5 times.
Have I?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
It's like
this is only my second time.
It's like there's only 3 words that begin with the letter R.
You know what?
And we just
Jack,
cycle through all 3.
You're one to talk. We're the worst.
You could have been Rocket
Stanley
Rob.
would have fired us like in episode 2, which was really episode 3.
You could have been Rocket Rob.
Oh, how weak! I am Rocket Rob Southgate, and with me is
Jiggling
Jack.
Or giggling. No wait, jiggling.
No, you should say I am Jack.
I am Jack. That's what I'm going to say the whole episode.
Oh, great. This is going to be a wonderful podcast. So Alil is not with us tonight, even though Alil is part of our summer series. Alil is afraid of Jack. No, Alil is in Colorado, which is the same as being afraid of Jack.
It's Jackanitis. Jackanitis.
Yes, he's got Jackanitis. Now we're going to have to put an explicit rating on this. Way to go, Jonathan. I'm kidding. Jonathan's sitting there like, wait a minute, what did I say? Okay. Before we get called Yuckmeisters, which is something I saw one of our podcasts get called on the internet, the couple of Yuckmeisters, let's talk Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, this is not part of our normal summer series. We're not in phase 2. We're going to hit next week. We're going to be right back to phase 1. We're going to finish out phase 1 with Avengers. This is just, we're talking Guardians of the Galaxy because all 3 of us saw it, and it was awesome. Oh, spoiler.
I didn't. Actually,
it was awesome.
To clear this up, I didn't see the movie. I just Googled it.
No one would be surprised by that, Jack.
Don't worry. Actually, that's what I did last time, so no good. No worries.
So my shame is I saw it last. Everybody else, all of you guys, including Alil, are writing like, it's awesome. Oh my gosh, what did you think? I didn't see it until last weekend. So I was the last one to see it.
I almost bought a ticket just to go there and laugh at you for not seeing it right away.
Yeah, well, I was a little busy. So I did get to see it, and I am all rambunctious about it. See that? So
I was moving across the country, coming off a ship and signing on for a doctorate plus entrance exams, and I still saw the movie.
Well, maybe if you had something going on, you'd know what my life is like. So, Jonathan, I'm going to start with you. What did you think?
I really dug this movie. I mean, it was just... coming off of Captain America, the Winter Soldier, which was just like this super serious spy, almost, 70s spy thriller, we get this, fun little, almost space opera,
Yeah.
I mean, it was just a really fun movie. I mean, after I got out, I'm like, yeah, actually, I think maybe during the movie, I'm like, well, this could hold me over till Star Wars, in terms of, just having a fun time in space. I mean, we're going to get a couple more space-related films, but they're going to be a lot more serious, I think.
Yeah, and you know what? I've heard a lot of people compare it to Star Wars. It really was a Star Wars. I shouldn't even say that. It's what we want Star Wars to be. We either want it to be really dark and like the awesome underbelly of Star Wars, or you want it to be like this. Because the first movie just had the spirit of the first movie.
Yep.
At least it did to me. I mean, yeah, it probably had more jokes, and it was, you're going to hate me for this, Jonathan, but it was better written as far as the dialogue than the first Star Wars. But it does have that spirit and that feel to it. And I want to spend time in this universe, just like I did when I first saw Star Wars. I just wanted to spend time there. Same thing here. Jack, what about you? What'd you think?
I came away, I thought that was my own original thought, actually. I came away thinking, this is how the original Star Wars Episode 4 really it came in and created like this. It had a backstory that you already felt kind of plugged into.
Yeah. It felt like you belonged in that. Like you already knew this universe. Like it was so real.
Yeah,
And this
and
was very disconnected from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's not like, like, oh, well, we've been here. We know what Asgard is like, or we know what. This was completely different.
right. Well, this is the philosophy that Marvel really has sold to Disney, and there's an article in Bloomberg
Yeah,
where
yeah.
Marvel has pitched and said, let's do what Stan Lee has already envisioned. He already has backstory. He already has the what do you call the storyboard. There's
Right.
already
There's already a
there's
roadmap to
already
all of this.
right, and there's a future timeline. All you have to do is that it's all been laid out. And at first they were hesitant, but the first Marvel movie made, I don't know, what, something like 500 million. The next one has made 600 million. Like every time he goes in, each of these movies make more money, and it's created a Marvel product. And not only that, but regular moviegoers too. So you've got double the audience, and it just makes for a very pleasing product. And I just went away. There were I had very few problems with the movie. I mean, I thought it was well done, and I thought, 20 years from now, the kids that are like in grade school are going to be talking about this movie like we talk about Star Wars.
Yeah, I actually totally agree with that too. I think that, everyone's excited and they're enjoying it and it's fun and it's the big thing, but this is one of those movies that I really think is going to have longevity. I think people are going to be, especially younger people, this is going to be a touchstone for them. As big as Avengers is and everything, this hit all the right buttons with the fantasy and the comedy, and I just really think it's going to be one of those that has legs for a long time. And frankly, I'm all in for a sequel. Like, how many of these things by Marvel need a sequel? Like every one of them. And I don't want to see this not go to sequel. Of course it will, right?
Yeah, I think
they've already
can't
announced
wait
one
for
so.
this. Yeah, I can't wait for the next one of these to come out. The next Guardian. I mean, all it has to do is be half as good, and I'm in.
No, I want it to be just as good or better. I don't want it to be half as good. Keep
I want
bringing
it to be I want it to cost twice as much and be like mediocre. Okay, really.
Twice.
That's what I'm hoping for.
Hey, Jack, go back to your ship. Okay, so let's kind of talk about the cast. Chris Pratt, when he was brought on, a lot of people were critical of him because, he was on Parks and Rec and he was this, doughy guy. How's he going to be, a lead Marvel character? Frankly, I thought he was fantastic. I found him completely likable, and I bought into the fact that he was a hero. What did you guys think?
Well,
Yeah,
I was worried. Okay, I was worried at first because they really have him as kind of that. What was the adjective you used? Doughy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he really just came across as doughy and goofy in the opening. Well, in the advertisements and the
Right.
previews, I thought, I don't know if I can sit around for 2 hours waiting for this guy to figure out where the drive button is on his spaceship.
Right.
I thought, oh, good God, this is going to be painful. But it kind of grew into a. What was Harrison?
He was Han Solo. He was Han Solo.
Yeah, he was Han Solo.
Only jokier.
Right. There was it took like him a little longer to take off as that character. But once he did, I really bought into it, and I was really impressed. I think the previews just made that whole doughy thing. They just played it up a little too much.
Oh, see, I didn't think so. Every preview, I was so jacked for this thing, and I totally bought into him. And by the time this hit, I was just sold. What did you think of him, Jonathan?
Yeah, I echo what Jack said. I didn't really know much about Chris Pratt, but I mean, I had seen the Lego Movie, but I hadn't seen Parks and Rec. And after I saw this, I went ahead and watched some episodes of Parks and Rec. And
okay, what'd you think of him on there?
He's quite a bit different. I mean, he's still, of course, both of them are kind of a lot of comedic stuff, but still very different parts. I mean, on Parks and Rec, he's kind of he does something kind of a jackass for one kind of thing he does
right
at the beginning. But
well, I definitely saw that character in this because it's just kind of his character.
Right.
You know, he kind of brings that to it. But I do think it shows that he actually is an actor because I did buy him as somebody different.
Right. And I really like at the ending was kind of a very unconventional, climax of when the final confrontation between the lead and the antagonist, and it was just this dance off, and it's just not really something you anticipate
Right.
for this kind of
Okay.
film.
Let's jump to that. Let's jump to that because that's a point that I've heard brought up a number of times. People not really digging on like they like everything in the movie, and the dance off thing. They're like, yeah, that kind of lost me. Did you guys mind the dance off? Jack, what did you
You
think
know,
of that dance off?
it didn't stick in my head. To be honest, it wasn't like a game changer.
It just is what it is.
It just, yeah, is what it is. It didn't like stick out. It really didn't stick with me as, when I'm kind of telling the story or, kind of remembering it. I barely remember it.
Yeah. The dance. What about you, Jonathan? Did that take you out of the movie or was it fine?
I thought it worked. I mean, it wasn't like, at the end of Iron Man. I mean, if, the original Iron Man, if Tony Stark had just started dancing in front of Ironclad, it wouldn't have really worked. But
No, that wouldn't have worked at all.
but
Well,
I
and when he
but I think that this film, at the very beginning of, something we had seen in the trailers, I'm Star-Lord, he's like, who? And I think just from that kind of moment on to the end, we kind of knew what we were getting ourselves into. And
Yeah, really. And when he did the dance, I mean, even though it actually it wasn't, I don't know, I didn't really like the dance, but it made sense like that
Yeah,
he was just trying to confuse him. And I thought that he was confused. But I don't think they could have gotten away with what they got away with him, doing his little dance to confuse him. I didn't buy it really. I just thought, okay, it's just him being goofy and they got him doing this little dance. I don't know. It didn't ring true for me, but it was all right. The rest of it
well,
though I loved.
for me, I think what ties it in was, yeah, I don't know what era he was supposed to be. I guess was that 80s with the tape Walkman and the dance mix, or was that more
Okay.
70s?
How the no, that had to be like late 70s, early 80s. But
Right. So let's
how
say,
how the
okay,
hell is
well,
that tape still playing?
yeah, so 1988. That's
So 80 wait, that was 88?
well
So that was
at the
his
very well. Apparently, that's when it starts. In
Okay, that
1988.
was his mom's music. She
yeah,
obviously didn't listen to any 80s music, only like 70s. 70s party radio music.
right. So
But that tape is
let's
how
just call
old?
it
Tapes degrade.
right.
Yeah.
Well, I think you have to suspend some disbelief when you're sending guys into space. Plus the
Okay.
batteries, all sorts of
Yeah,
there's
the
all sorts of
batteries. I didn't
problems.
even think of that.
Well,
The
I
batteries in
could
the
go with.
Walkman.
I mean, I could go with the batteries. I'd figure, they have some kind of power source. He could have MacGyvered it to
Right,
have some
right.
kind of power source that worked. But I mean, granted, you haven't really set up this world where tapes are like invincible. I mean, we just have to assume
It's
that
weird.
Yeah.
tapes just work the same way.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
and
just-
this is what ties it in for me is number one, it shows the care that he put into this, one little item that he had for his mom, that it's so important he jeopardizes his life in a mission to
Yeah,
get
to
it
go get
back.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a major theme, and I think that's what took the end of the movie, and I think that's why it only works. The dance off only works for this movie is because it takes you back to that party mixtape.
Yeah, true.
It's like,
Well, the
okay, you know what?
soundtrack
You're
really
in
did light people
a
up.
land long ago and far, far away, and you're doing a 1980s dance off to distract that guy, and that's why it works. It wouldn't work for Iron Man. It wouldn't work for any other kind of character. Like you're not going to distract the Rhino with a cute little shuffle.
Right.
He's just going to ram his horn, right through your torso. But it did work
Take my money for
because
that.
of like, yeah, the
Yeah.
80s
Rhino
80s
ramming his
reference.
horn through your torso. I want to see that instead of him standing there in Rhino underpants.
Oh yeah. Hey man, was it Granimals?
Incredible. Yeah.
You have to
I
match
actually,
Rhino
I never,
underpants with your Rhino shirt.
I never had that, and but I did. and I was a little too old for it, but I did covet the idea of the Underoos. Like my neighbors had them; they were a little younger, and I was like, oh, I wish they had them in bigger kid sizes. I was like high school.
They probably do, and
I was like high school thinking,
I'm sure we can
God,
find
I
some.
Spider-Man Underoos would be awesome.
So for our younger
Jack, now I wear pajama pants.
Now you have to Google Underoos and Garanimals.
There are if you Google Underoos, you will find crazy ads and things that are just hilarious. The Star Wars ones are exceptional. I just have to say that. So look up 70s Underoos. So okay, what were you gonna say, Jack?
I was gonna say watch for X-rated spam.
Oh, on Underoos? Yeah. Maybe you shouldn't Google it. Be careful. So okay, so we all liked Chris Pratt in this. Who do you think was your favorite? I mean, everyone's loving Groot, but who was your favorite of the Guardians? Was it Star-Lord? Was he like a standout to you, or was it Gamora? Who was the one that you just went like, oh yeah, this character? It's like in Avengers. Everyone walked out of there going, Hulk kind of stole that movie. Who stole this movie for you? Was it Groot?
Well, for me, I really have to say it was Rocky Raccoon.
You mean Rocket Raccoon?
Rocky
Raccoon is from the Beatles.
I want to call him Rocky Raccoon.
Okay, Rocky. How about you, Jonathan?
Mine would be Rocket as well. I mean, the way he just, he's kind of like you guys said before, he's kind of this like silly, kind of like if Han Solo was like silly,
Well, this was a movie with like 5 Han Solos.
Yeah, so you kind of have him, and then Groot, the muscle, is kind of the Chewie.
Yeah.
I mean, the way he just is such a, it's sometimes just such a jackass. He's just like, Chris Pratt, he spends this credits to get this prosthetic leg from this guy. He spends how many credits for it? Oh, I didn't need that,
my
that
gosh.
was just a joke.
That scene. And you know what's funny? I love all the memes on the internet where it just keeps showing raccoons and they're like, excuse me, I need your leg. No, I really need the leg. Like every one of them, like, can I have that hair? Like it has just like pictures of raccoons in a thing, and I'm just like, every one of them cracks me up.
I know.
Because of that.
And I'm gonna need that mechanical eye.
Yeah.
That was the perfect follow-up.
Yeah, he's like, no, really, I need it. He's kind of laughing. Oh.
I mean, I know another great moment is when they all are like, one of those moments where they all kind of stand up in a circle, kind of unite as a group. And he's like, okay, we're all standing up here like a bunch of jackasses. Okay.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's just
hilarious. That was an improvised line, I heard.
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't.
Really?
Yeah, well, it was, it actually wasn't from him. It was from the stand-in before Bradley Cooper was on. I want to say it's James Gunn's brother, because I know he stood in for other characters. I believe he stood in for Rocket Raccoon when they were like blocking the scenes, and he said that, and they all thought it was so funny they kept it in the movie. They put it in the movie.
Oh, speaking of James Gunn,
awesome.
Little side note, he actually was he did actually the Baby Groot, I think. No, wait, no. Who was the I think
he was the dancing Groot.
Well, I think it was James Gunn. He I think at one point that he did a dance for one of the characters, and so nobody would see him do it. He videotaped himself doing it, then sent it to the animators, and the animators did it. And I think that was Baby Groot, that he actually did the dance and then he sent it to them.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
I did not know that. Good little tidbit there. Yeah, I'll tell you what. As much as for me personally, things like Baby Dancing Groot, usually I just go, what a bunch of crap. Like that has no interest to me at all. I could watch that stupid Baby Dancing Groot every day for the rest of my life. Like it's the one thing. Like I saw it and I'm like, oh, I have to have that tool.
Actually,
so
they're selling it already. They already have a dancing Groot.
Yeah, there's one from Pop Vinyl I saw. They're actually going to have that. Here's a plug. Go to our website and go to Entertainment Earth through our website, and you can order Dancing Groot through there. It's from Pop Vinyl. It's so great. It's
awesome.
So great. But Dancing Groot was fantastic. I actually thought, I mean, when we start talking about our favorites, I would say Rocket is probably my favorite. I can't get enough of Rocket on the back of Groot shooting that gun. I can't get enough of Rocket when he does the thing about the leg. I can't get enough of him at the very end when they all start holding hands and he's just like, yes, I think that's the character that steals it for me. Although Groot is the one that gets all the attention because I got to say Groot was pretty amazing.
And one more little thing is that even though Rocket is just kind of this jokey kind of guy, he has the serious moments, and especially at the very end when like Groot just sacrifices himself, and like we see that Groot is probably his only friend he's known for years,
Right.
and he's just all sad.
Yeah, he's torn up by it.
I mean, it's just like I think it's one of those like his weak spots of like
So do you
not a lot can
think
get
that
to him.
do you think they showed Rocket walking around with that planter with Baby Groot that became Baby Groot? I think that there's a moment missing. A lot of people think that it's when Rocket was going through all the dead pieces of Groot and was all upset that he picked one up and planted it. But I think it was actually planted by Groot. Remember when he plucked that thing off of his head?
Yeah.
I think he plucked it and put it in and planted it, but we didn't see him plant it. Because if we had seen him plant it, we would have known that he was going to survive no matter what. They had to keep the stakes high.
Well, I think you're right because I do remember. Okay, he plucked out that little seed with the leaf coming out.
Yeah, and it was really
it's
obvious.
Like, okay, what are they doing? Where is he going with this? And
Right.
then, like I think what they must have done is had a scene where they kind of plant that and then said, you know what, we're going to blow him up and we'll just have Rocket plant it, like as a transplant, and they went like a different direction.
Well, I still think that was what that was. I think it was the thing he plucked, but I think they just left whatever scene it was out that showed him plant it because then the stakes wouldn't have been there. We would have thought that we would have known like, okay, Groot's going to survive no matter what. And for most people, they went into this having no idea. When Groot blew up, it was, you could assume Groot's dead.
Oh yeah, but the thing is, when you look at the pot, it doesn't look like a sprout. It looks like he just stuck one of the
True.
broken limbs off in the pot.
True.
So I
wonder what was up with that.
Yeah, my personal theory is they decided to go in a different direction to tie in like the exploding Groot and say, okay, even though he exploded, all you got to do to replenish Groot is stick any part of him in a pot and we're good to go.
I got another character I want to bring up. Obviously, I mean, we could go through each one of them. I thought Drax was great. I thought Gamora was great. I enjoyed all of them completely. Like nobody was secondary to me. A character that I was really surprised by. I had no idea going into it how big Yondu was in this film. Michael Rooker, I had heard he was in it, and I thought he had a cameo. And then they released the picture of him smiling at the camera, and I was like, okay, so he's James Gunn's buddy. He's going to be in, for a couple of seconds. Then we got that scene at the beginning with him, and I thought, okay, that's the last we're going to see of him, and then maybe a little, thing at the end. He was a main character. He was throughout this movie. And that arrow when he whistled, that was awesome. Sweet.
Oh yeah.
Now, I did not know anything about that. I've read Yondu before, but maybe the whistle just like wasn't in my head or whatever. But man, when he did that, I was just like, wow, that thing is awesome. And I had no idea that it was going to do that.
Yeah, for me,
I guess it makes it. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
For me, it kind of reminded me of the movie Wanted, the curved bullet, which they shoot the gun and it kind of goes like in a circle, and that's what made me think about it.
Yeah, I could totally see that. Although it was like he was controlling it with that whistle,
right?
And that thing was deadly. I mean, he took out that whole group of people with just a little,
Yeah, the paper people.
What was it? But paper people?
Yeah, that's what. Didn't they call them like the paper people?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, they kind of nickname them. But that's what kind of made it like believable. Like this guy, had been controlling Raiders for like his entire life. It's like how now you can see why this guy's the leader.
Right.
He could just take anybody out with that arrow. Did you notice the difference between like they kind of took off his mohawk?
Yes.
Yeah, they left like a little band, but I was kind of disappointed because
Yeah, right. I know. I wanted to see that too. Yeah, but it was still cool. I mean, I thought the whole thing was cool. What did you guys think of Ronan?
Oh,
the bad guy. Because this is something that we've talked a lot over the summer series about is the bad guy. Loki is the bad guy that has kind of transcended, but the other bad guys haven't been as strong as a singular bad guy necessarily. Even though I've enjoyed all of them, this is something that Marvel has not quite clicked on yet, which is focusing the story on the bad guy. And this guy, I think, fell into that same category, but I liked Ronan. I thought it was a cool character to have. I mean, this is the only time you're really going to get a character like him. Did you guys find
Yeah,
him to be a good villain?
I did. I liked Ronan and Thanos, kind of in the background. But
Well, yeah, Thanos in the background, it did add something there. And when he betrayed Thanos, I thought this is really cool that they're doing this. But Ronan, as you know, and I also got his motivation. I think they did a better job of building him than they did with the Dark Elf in Thor 2. Because in that one, the bad guy, like you kind of really didn't know him. This guy, you kind of got to know what was going on a little bit more, and he was a little more, I don't know, menacing rather than just being okay, bad guy, boss battle number 3 or whatever.
yeah.
I liked Ronan. I thought it was an interesting thing going on there, and I liked how he turned on Thanos and how he got not Gamora, who is the other one, Nebula, to
Mhm.
kind of go along with him. And Nebula is the daughter of Thanos. I mean, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I look forward to
Yeah.
her returning because and I'm sure she'll return.
Oh yeah, no question. No question. Since they have announced doing Guardians 2, you know that they're going to do more with these characters. She's an important character in the Thanos storyline. So she and Gamora are going to be around for a while.
Yeah, I think there was, because of the interplay with the sisters, that there was just almost no room for Thanos
Oh, in this? Well,
in
yeah,
this. Yeah,
They added the Thanos part late in the game.
yeah.
I mean,
But
they were going to have him betray Thanos, but Thanos is not the big baddie here. We're not supposed to see much of him.
Yeah,
right.
I think they wanted to
I
have
mean,
some kind
but
of connection
Yeah.
no,
to
yeah, but I meant Ronan, between the sisters.
Oh,
One was
okay.
one was it Nebula was supposed to be. Which one was sent out first?
Well,
Um,
Gamora is the one that ends
Gam-
up with the Guardians
right. So Gamora was sent out first for Ronan, right?
by Ronan.
By Ronan to kind of get it. She winds up joining. Then it's like trying to Nebula says, you know what, I'm going to go get her, and she says, I'm here to kind of stick it to my dad,
Right.
to really, let's go betray him. I just thought the interplay with them didn't leave much room for Ronan.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
interplay kind of reminded me a little bit of, two. I mean, I guess I kind of saw them as like rival sisters wanting approval, and which I kind of compare a little to the Loki and Thor,
Sure.
the rivalry.
Is it the long hair? Is that why you compare them?
Um, or lack of hair.
So you know what? I want to bring something up here that we really haven't talked much about on here in the past, and this is something that Jack, I don't even think you were in town when this whole thing started, but at our website, which is southgatemediagroup.com, you can go there, click on podcasts directory. I'm trying to look it up right now. I should know. I put it together. Click on podcast directory and it'll take you to all the different podcasts. You can find Nuff Said there, or you can just go to southgatemediagroup.com/Nuff said podcast. How annoying is that? And I think I'm the one that set it up. It's so annoying. But if you go there, we now have a blog. And if you scroll down, it's got all of the blog posts, and it's Charlie Esser does our blog for us. It's called Super Connectivity, and Charlie was a fan. We found him on Facebook. He was writing all these great posts on our Facebook page, and we said, "Hey, would you like to do a blog?" I don't think that were you here when we did this, Jack?
Yeah, you talked to me about it quite a bit on the phone.
Yeah, but I didn't think that we actually had launched it before you left.
No, I think that was while I was in the ship.
Yeah, well, it's launched. And the reason I bring this up, number one, I look forward to his articles every week. Unlike us, where we kind of get it wrong and
Oh,
just have
he's got
fun.
all the details.
Oh, he's got it right. Yeah, and he's got great theories. So I was reading before we jumped on today. He wrote one about Guardians of the Galaxy. It's called Guardians of the Galaxy and the Future of the MCU. I recommend everybody check this out. If you're a fan of the movie, he has a really interesting take on it where he talks about the tie-in to Loki. And it's something that I didn't think of at all when I was watching it. But now that I've read his article, it's all I could think about. As we're having this discussion, I'm just thinking about what he said and going, this is another, like, what is going on? And there's some of these scenes are setups by Loki, even though he's not here. But they make reference to Odin, about the ether and stuff like that. But Odin's not there anymore. It's Loki.
Right.
So
Well,
all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, that means Loki did that. And Loki always has a plan. He's always moving chess pieces. So now it makes me think, I wonder if what we're seeing here is going to play out in a different way than we think because of Loki.
well, I mean, that's possible. I mean, you can do like, anything was a mirage by Loki, but I mean, from my perspective,
Yeah.
the tie-in with Thanos and the Infinity Stones is kind of obvious. I mean, Loki is carrying around one of the Infinity
Oh, yeah.
Stones.
Well, yeah, I'm saying
There's like some
that's obvious.
discussion about which one it is that he's carrying.
Yeah, Jack, you're going to have to read the article though, because in it's not as obvious as that. It's other things that he's pulling the strings on, and you realize, oh wow, there's Thanos and there's Loki. Like Loki has positioned himself at the end of Thor 2, where he actually is causing havoc everywhere. But this is our first glimpse into it. But they don't tell us that's what's going on. But now I realize oh my gosh, I think I just had a stroke. Holy cow. What? So all I can say is go read it. And his newest one is all about Odin's Eye and why Thor 3 is the most important Marvel movie ever. I love his blog, and I just wanted to recommend it to people because if you're a Marvel fan, it's definitely worth reading these. We have a discuss on there, so you can go in and you can write to him and write theories and stuff. He loves that. I try to put it on our Facebook page, but I'm pretty bad about it. So get in discussion with us there too. But this is a way, if you go to our website, you can really get right in there with him. So there was my cheap, shameless plug, but it was heartfelt because I was just reading it before getting on here, and I've been thinking about it the entire conversation.
Cool.
Yeah. So, okay, back to it. What about the Collector? Now, we saw the Collector at the end of, was that Thor or Cap? That was Thor, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it was Thor because we saw the Nazi guy at the end of Cap. We saw the Collector at the end of Thor. I didn't realize the Collector was going to be a character in this. And they kind of wasted him. Like they had a great scene with him and then they brought him back at the end. I would kind of like to see a little more Collector.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I kind of just, I know there was a lot of, people kind of hated the scene at the end of the Thor that it kind of, I mean, I heard a lot of complaints that it looked really cheap and all.
Oh, I didn't think that at all.
But I wasn't, I didn't necessarily want more of him. I thought what I saw of him was, good enough. I mean, I'd like to see learn maybe a little more about him in the future, but for what we got from him, I thought it was fine.
Well, see, I kind of went into this thinking that he was going to be a bigger, more important character in the story. He was there to motivate a plot device, really.
Yeah.
And he was there for a good gag at the end. But in reality, I think that was just where my disappointment was when I knew that Thanos was going to make an appearance. I thought the Collector was going to be a thrust of this story because of how we had seen him at the end of Thor 2. I do think we're going to get a more important Collector story in the future, though.
Howard the Duck.
I think
Because he collects the Avengers at some point.
Right.
What?
Well, I think he's really in the background as the Infinity Stones start to be gathered. And
Yeah, it's almost like he's in a race to get them before Thanos can.
Well, I mean, they keep popping up at his place.
Right.
So that leads me to believe that, he's going to be like here or there. He's in the background until such time where they put all the Infinity Stones together. And I believe that the Collector is going to be part of that. But that's way in the future. We're getting little tastes of.
You think that's going to be like Avengers 3 or further?
I think further. I think it's going to be like way down the line.
Yeah.
I mean how many years did? Go ahead.
I mean, doesn't Thanos I'm not the comic guy, but I know that there's like several different Infinity Gems that goes into the final gauntlet.
Right.
I mean, so we're not thinking that. I mean, I guess I was thinking that Thanos was eventually going to get a hold of them, and that's how that was going to be the enemy in Avengers 3. He's going to have like this all powerful gauntlet or whatever.
Now, I
That's what
have a
I thought.
different thought on that. I actually wonder if this, because everyone assumes Thanos is the big baddie in Avengers 3 because of the teaser at the end of Avengers. I wonder if we're off mark. I wonder if Avengers 3 is going to be more like a Civil War story and Guardians 2 is going to be a big Thanos story and then you know, the Avengers will make a cameo in that, like certain Avengers. Because in Guardians 2, you could very well have Tony Stark show up and maybe Thor dealing with the Guardians, dealing with Thanos.
I mean, for me, I guess I was thinking that, I was really let's see, but wait, Guardians 2, we're getting Guardians 2 before
Right.
Avengers
Right.
3. So,
So
yeah.
why not have that happen there? Why have us know that Thanos? It doesn't seem like Marvel to let us know exactly who the villain is going to be this early. Like we found out who it was going to be Ultron, but we didn't find that out before Avengers 1 hit.
Right.
So why would they tell us that it's Thanos, 2 movies ahead? Because everyone thought Thanos was going to be in Avengers 2, and then it turns out to be Ultron. Why not make it so that the Guardians are the ones it's Thanos and the Guardians, which makes a lot of sense. Have like Thor and Stark show up and deal with that. And then your next Avengers movie is the aftermath of that when they come back. And now we get that Civil War storyline. Like it becomes something more like that. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be the Civil War storyline. A lot of people speculate on that. I don't know if they're going to do an Avengers movie that is that because, that's got the fighting and everything, but it's more of a politically driven story. And I
Yeah.
don't think that's what Avengers is
Yeah.
about. I think Avengers is about popcorn.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I'm kind of leaning towards, even if they already told us about that one, I'm leaning more towards Avengers 3, perhaps, maybe Avengers 2, Guardians leading up into Avengers 3, and that,
Yeah.
maybe by the time Avengers 3, he has like the gauntlet, and everything.
Yeah. So do you think we're going to have, well, maybe that's it. Maybe he acquires all the pieces to the gauntlet by the end of Guardians 2. And then Avengers 3 is Thanos.
Yes, I think that's what I'm thinking.
That would make
Yeah.
sense.
In the wiki about the Infinity Gauntlet, they talk about Thanos erases half the population of the universe, goes on to decimate Earth's heroes in combat, and then battle Marvel's pantheon of cosmic entities, defeats them all by turning them to stone, but loses the gauntlet to Nebula. So,
Yes.
That
Once again, I think you've got characters that are really Guardians.
You could plug in, the entities could be Avengers, it could be the Guardians of the Galaxy, could be the Avengers. You can plug in anything really into that.
Yeah. Well, and see, that's what I'm wondering is you've got all the characters in place in the Guardians universe. Why are we so focused on the Avengers being the tentpole? They may not be focusing it that way. They may be focusing on the Avengers being the tentpole for those characters. But why can't Guardians be an additional tentpole? And I'm going to go one step further. There was more stuff. We talked about this a couple of episodes ago about how the Netflix series are actually leading to a Defenders either miniseries or what I read today is potentially a Defenders film and crossing over the Defenders and the Avengers. And maybe they're going to take the cosmic stuff, and the Guardians are the cosmic version of the cosmic version of the Avengers, and we can have crossover going Avengers into Guardians, and have the Defenders crossover in Avengers 3. So you get Daredevil and Luke Cage and Iron Fist in Avengers 3. I mean, I would have no problem with that. And it's all speculation at this point anyway.
Well, it occurs to me that, the Infinity Stones, that they're spreading all over the Marvel universe.
Right.
One was in Thor. We're seeing, one pop up in Avengers. And, of course, now this one in Guardians of the Galaxy. It may not, they're spreading this out over, and aren't there like 2 more? There are 5 total?
Yeah. No, there's 6.
6.
Uh-oh.
So we've got
we're going to get hate mail for this.
Yeah. So, you've got another 3, movies, and I think they're spreading them all out, so that you have this one big tie-in.
Yeah.
And it could be,
there's the whole Jack. There's 6 of them.
Cool. So, you've got 3 of them spread out over the last 3 movies. I think there's going to be another 3 spread out. And I think there's going to be another separate Infinity Gauntlet scenario that these are all leading up to. That's a very Marvel way, to do this.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and that's a good point. Although I will say that when you say it's a very Marvel way, one thing that I think we've also found is, if anything, Marvel is a little bit unpredictable right now, which is great. I mean, we're getting a different tonal shift each time. Who thought Guardians would be this awesome? Who thought that you'd be laughing at this movie and loving it and having this space adventure and saying this is tweaking that Star Wars thing?
Well, like you
I
say,
never thought that.
I really recommend you go read the Bloomberg article because Marvel Studios has the green light to go with the comics and to what makes sense, not what they think makes money. And in the end, it actually makes them more money. And and that's why they've been able to do this.
Sure.
Because each time he goes through, and so they're really, they came in and they're just studying piles and piles of the backstory and the issues, and
Yeah.
it really makes sense. Like when you start seeing all this happen, it really does make sense because you've got a whole series, the whole Marvel series, which has been around for so long, and so many people are tied into it that are just, you're giving them exactly what they were looking for and what they remember, and
Yeah.
it's just, and that's why it's breeding success. I don't think they're unpredictable. I think they are being real Marvel, and it's freaking people out because what the bean counters usually tell people
Yeah,
is happening
it's
there.
not Hollywood Marvel, it's being Marvel.
Yeah, and it's making scads of money.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
You
mean, I
think?
think one thing to say is that, I mean, I think when we got Iron Man in 2008, we could only imagine, I don't think anybody would have predicted that this would have been where we are now,
Oh no, not at
I mean,
all.
I think from, if they took, this was a risk, I think doing this Guardians of the Galaxy was a risk because
I think it was the biggest risks they've taken
yeah,
because nobody knows
absolutely.
the characters. And here it is, this huge hit. And now, I mean, almost everybody knows who Groot and Rocket Raccoon are, which 3 months ago, nobody knew who Groot was.
Yeah.
And like
I
even my
am
parents,
Groot.
my parents were so excited to see the movie. And my mom was like wanting to see it. And then we walked out and she's like, oh, that was just great. I mean, this really hit a chord with the public.
Man,
And
did
their
anybody
riskiest film proved they killed.
did anybody almost get a tear in their eye when like Groot grabbed the whole bunch,
Oh, are
encapsulated
you
them,
kidding me?
and just said,
We are Groot.
"We are Groot"?
Yeah,
Like,
who didn't get a tear?
how the heck did three
I know, a
words
guy
just
that says
go, "Oh
three
my
words,
God"?
yeah, like crush you. A big talking tree that says 3 words, and I was crushed.
I know. It's like, oh my God, Groot, no.
Yeah. So, have you
Yeah,
guys got anything more you want to talk about on this one? I mean, I think we've thrown a lot of love out here.
The
yeah, I don't think
music,
that's all that's
I
out
really
there.
like. I thought the music was great. I mean, the soundtrack was, especially, we saw some
Yeah.
of the music in the trailer, but then in the film, it brought some of the similar music, I think. But yeah, I really enjoyed. That was one of the parts that really drew me to the movie is the music. So
Yeah, I thought that was a lot of fun, and it was a good soundtrack, and I like how they set it up for the second one when they find the tape, and Awesome Mix 2 is going to be the sequel soundtrack.
yep.
Right.
I mean, I'm
Well,
already ready to hear that music.
oh yeah, some late, some definitely some late '80s rock and roll ready to go.
Yeah.
One thing we didn't talk about was Star Lord's dad.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that was the thing that kind of bothered me about the movie is
What did?
I thought that was a little unclear about why he was taken. I mean, I knew he
Well,
said
they
something
they
about his
didn't tell
dad.
you the story. They didn't tell you the story of his dad at all. They're saving that for the next movie, and I'm actually kind of glad they didn't because I get weary from all
Is
the
that
origin stories.
right?
And the
Here's
fact that they didn't do an origin story with Star-Lord really was a lot better for me.
Well, if you picked, what they gave us in the movie was a little snippet early on. He said, waiting for the dad. When he hears about what happened to mom, the dad will come back for me, right?
Right.
And then we get like, probably, most people are a little too young to the Charlie's Angels reference. You never saw Charlie.
Right.
You always you saw him, and they did that. I think they did that with the dad at some point, where they intimated that this guy in the starship was the dad, and
Yeah,
then
they did, but he wasn't.
okay, well, at the very end, you have his his former boss says, you know, we probably should have taken him. What did he say? We probably should have taken him to his dad, like he paid us to, but I'm glad we didn't, or something like that.
Yeah, right,
Something
right.
to that effect. So we know, eventually the dad did hear, actually the dad did hear he sent the spaceship to retrieve his son, but
Right.
the Raiders never gave the son
Never
back to the
returned
dad.
him. Yep.
So there's that disconnect, and I think that's I think the Infinity Stones, and I think that end story is we're going to be always searching for his dad, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But
Well, no, I don't think so. I think we're gonna, because I know the story of the father, or at least what we know from the comics,
yeah,
and I really think that the next movie is going to do that. It's going to get into that story.
right. But man, it's like way to transition. If that's the case, what a way to transition to the next movie. That
Yeah.
can, the dad did come to pick you up,
Right.
but they never dropped you off. You just became one of the pirates.
Right. Right. Yeah. I love that. I'm really looking forward to seeing Star-Lord's early years portrayed the correct way, and where we find out about the dad, because the story, it's very much like the Terminator. When you find out the story, only instead of Kyle Reese, it's Star-Lord, and it's just really cool.
Now, what about the very end where they call it the Easter egg, where you see Howard the Duck?
Yeah.
Oh,
How
yes.
do we not bring that up?
And
Yes.
behind Howard the Duck is an open cocoon after the explosion.
Yes. Yes, and that is, I can't remember his name. Somebody's going to shout at me for that. But that is, in that cocoon is another Infinity Gem. It's a character that has an Infinity Gem inside of them.
Okay, so is that just a reference, or are we gonna see that in the next movie? I guess that's the next.
Well, we got to see it at some point, because that's where the gem is.
Okay, so that is, we'll have to look that up. But
Yeah.
I think those are the things we kind of left off.
Now, before I saw it, I actually didn't know about Howard the Duck.
Yeah.
And I spotted him in the very first scene with the collector. He was up in the upper, like, right-hand side. And I leaned over to Martha, my wife, and I go, "Oh my gosh, it's Howard the Duck." Because of the way he was sitting in the thing. I'm like, that's crazy. I thought he was just going to be in the background. I didn't think they were going to show it. And then at the end, when you got spoiler, Howard the Duck's in it. I guess we should have said that. When they showed him, and he's like, it goes down, burns your throat, goes down when it goes down or something.
You let the
love
dog
that.
lick your face? That's gross.
That's gross. Yeah, and like Cosmo the dog. I mean, it was all really, really fantastic stuff. Are we going to get a Howard the Duck movie? If it's anything like the original one, God, I hope not. That's like the worst thing ever. But I thought it was great that Howard was in there, and it makes sense in this part of the universe.
Yeah, maybe hook up with the Guardians.
Yeah, I would actually like to see them expand. I mean, when people say, "Oh, do we really want to see Howard the Duck?" Did you really want to see a talking raccoon? But we love this guy. How would you like to see Rocket and Howard fighting it out, complaining at each other the whole time? I think it'd be awesome.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, you know what? And the fan reaction has been great. I think that people are really hyped because he's in there. Even, a lot of these people never read a Howard the Duck book. They have no idea what Howard the Duck is, other than they know what the character is. But you know what? That tells you how good the character is, that people are that excited just from seeing him. Now go back and read those books. Become familiar with Howard, and you'll realize, yeah, there should be a Howard movie. And yeah, this could be really cool. I actually think Howard is more ripe to be a Netflix series. And I would be down with that. I think he'd be a hard sell as a movie, but as a Netflix series, I think he would be fantastic. And then when he makes a cameo in another Guardians movie, people would just be completely in love with him.
Yeah. I'd like to see Rocket and Groot get their own Netflix.
Oh my gosh.
So
Yeah, I couldn't get enough of that. I couldn't get enough of Rocket on top of Groot's back shooting. To me, that was just like, give me 30 minutes of just that, and I'd be happy.
one thing I'm wondering about is that, I think it's kind of a tradition to kind of add, more characters. So I'm kind of wondering, it'd be nice to get like one or two additional characters in the next Guardians film that we haven't seen that are more
Well, and there are a lot.
Cosmic related. Not, I mean,
There are more Guardians out there, so
Yeah.
yeah, they could certainly do that. And you know what? I think they've introduced Nova Corps. I loved that. I'm ready for a Nova movie.
Oh, John C. Riley.
Well, not him, not
okay.
his character,
Right? But that.
but the character of Nova. I would love to see a Nova movie. Nova's a great character, and now they've set it up. And you know what? A lot of people walked out of there like we were at Comic-Con. A lot of people were dressed in Nova. I think it's prime. I think Marvel's got an issue, and that is they have so many well-defined characters that are primed to do things with that they can't possibly get to all of them before superhero burnout happens or before all of us that have read these for years are dead because there are so freaking many of them. I mean, Spider-Woman, Howard the Duck. These are characters that are screaming to have something done with them. I don't know. I'm just ready for it. And they're not on the next phase. We've got Doctor Strange, we've got Ant-Man, we've got Guardians, we've got Cap 3. What else are we going to get?
I mean,
where are they going to fit these in? And they're actively working on Black Widow now.
Yeah, I mean,
I am down with a Black Widow movie.
I think Black Panther is a very strong.
And Black Panther too. He's Batman.
I think it's not. I think Black Panther isn't confirmed, but I think they're close to confirming Black Panther. I kind of get that.
I do too.
I think.
And we are going to have a Thor 3 and a Cap 3.
Yeah.
Now, haven't we been we've been hearing about Ant-Man coming up. I thought we were going to see him before we saw Guardians of the Galaxy.
No, Ant-Man is next after Avengers. You got Avengers, right? Am I right, Jonathan?
Yeah.
We've got Avengers and then Ant-Man, or is Ant-Man's not before Avengers?
No,
right?
it's Avengers is in May, and then Ant-Man is in July or late July.
Right, and then is there another one in the fall, or does that go to the next year?
I think there's only 2 that year.
Because we're going to start getting 3 a year, and man, I mean, look what they did this year.
Yeah. I mean, as far as I know, in 2015 there's 2, in 2016 there's 2.
No, I don't think that's accurate. I thought they had one that was they have an unannounced title for, is it 2016?
Yeah, I mean, maybe they do have like an unannounced, maybe like a late fall in 2016.
Well, yeah, what they did was
I'm looking at Wikipedia right now.
What they did, the reason I say that, they took a date and they have not announced a film for it. But they took a date from another film. And it tells you that, like, okay, that year there's going to be 3 in there.
Okay, here's a little news flash from some of in the mid-credits scene of Thor: The Dark World. We first saw the Collector and his museum, Species and Trinkets, where the Asgardians, both Stag and Sif, visited him to give the ether and trust in his care. It confirms that it was the cocoon of Adam Warlock.
That's who it is.
Vital character in the Infinity Gauntlet comic book, and is said to be what the Avengers 3 is going to be loosely based on. So that's the first bit of news that Avengers 3 may be about the Infinity Gauntlet.
Okay.
So anyway, that was the one we left unanswered.
All right.
Matthew McConaughey. Right.
Well,
right, right.
all right. I'm just thinking about this because the other thing is, we know that they're going. Well, it's definitely being indicated that the Inhumans is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens they've been very public that they got back Punisher, Blade, and Ghost Rider. Are they going to be Netflix series? I mean, and are some of these going to end up being Netflix series? Because they have said that the next Netflix series are going to tie in to the MCU, and you're going to see those characters crossing back and forth too. Speculation, are some of those going to end up as series?
I mean, I think it kind of depends on the hero. I mean, I don't think Ghost Rider, Blade, or Punisher are really. I don't really see them fitting in the movies. But I think a series.
Oh, totally. I disagree. I totally do. I mean, I wouldn't have thought Guardians of the Galaxy fit into these movies.
I mean, I guess the thing is, I mean, I don't really know much about the Punisher and Blade and stuff, but from the movies I've seen, there are these hardcore there are graphic films, and for me, I mean, a PG-13 Punisher, or Blade film, I mean, leave the blood out. I don't really see how that could work,
They could do it. And you know what? Maybe they don't.
Yeah.
Maybe that's where they dive into an R-rated Blade film. And it's not part of it is part of the MCU, but it's not in these phases.
Yeah.
Because they could certainly do that.
I think like a Punisher like TV series is much
Oh,
more
I'm
likely.
down with that.
Much more likely.
I think phase 2 of their Netflix is like Punisher, Blade, Ghost Rider, and then give me a wild card there. Boy, I can't even think of one because like this
She-Hulk?
Jessica Jones one.
She-Hulk.
Oh my gosh. You know how much I want that to happen.
Red She-Hulk.
Oh, good. No, they got to do regular She-Hulk first.
Yeah, of course.
But that would be, oh my gosh.
All you have to do is say She-Hulk and Rob Drools.
You know what? Because it's such a great character. I mean, it really is. I think that it's a missed opportunity if they don't do something with that character.
And I tell you, I really like the guy that they have doing Bruce Banner.
He's fantastic.
When Cap, his character is fantastic because it's kind of acidic and like you really believe, that he is kind of the scientist and just pretty much had it with the other guy. But then when Cap, just looks at him, you do this, Hulk, smash.
Yeah, right.
And
I think the whole movie was leading up to that moment.
He gets that grin on his face, and and that's what really tied the Avengers in for me was like getting Hulk kind of back in line with the group, But yeah, I mean, we like you said, this is all conjecture, but I think it's all going in a great direction.
Yeah, totally. All right, I'm calling it because I'm getting super tired. My voice is starting to go. And we are going to get into Avengers territory very quickly here. And next week is Avengers for us. So and that's going to be the blowout. It's going to be all 4 of us. We're going to have a Lil on that one also. So that'll be fun. Do you guys have anything else before we wrap up?
I'm dead.
I'm good.
All right. Well, thank you for listening, everybody. You can listen to past episodes of Nuff Said and all of our podcasts from Southgate Media Group at our website, which is, I've already plugged it earlier, but southgatemediagroup.com. And check out our blog there too. Super Connectivity is awesome. We also have, if you're a DC person, we have one called Bat Fan Cave at our Before the Bat page, which is all about Gotham. But the Bat Fan page is all Batman stuff, and it's really fun to read too. Find us on all the different social media. You can find those links at our website. And I think that's it. Rate us and review us on iTunes. It really helps us and helps other people find us. And that ends it. For the Nuff Said podcast, I am Rocket Rob Southgate.
I am Rambunctious Jack Wingrosky.
And I'm Juggling Jonathan.
I hate you, Jack. All right, that's it. Nuff said.
Nuff said.
Nuff said.
If you would like to donate to help pay for this and other Southgate Media Group podcasts, simply go to our website, southgatemediagroup.com, and click on the donate button. It can be as little as $1 or, well, as much as you want. Help keep this fun going by supporting this and our other shows. Thanks again for listening, everyone. You're the best fans in the world.